Clubhouse.
Jill, ask them what they think about supervillain.
It sounds better to me. More exciting.
Do you prefer saving America? How about saving the world?
Nope. It's saving America.
Welcome back to Podcast V, Pod Clubhouse's continuing coverage of Amazon's The Boys. This is for the penultimate episode of not only the 5th season, but the entire series. This one was entitled The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. Sounds like a description that you'd give a hitman or something.
Yeah. It was funny because I was trying to figure out what the actual title was of the episode, because it was saying, like, on the Amazon Prime, it was just like, if you saw the little description that was cut off, it had a warning, like, you know, because they were filming that movie in the show, and like, soups on set, be careful, they may be using superpowers or something like that. It was funny. That
bit was very funny because Pod Clubhouse has a semi-commitment to Taylor Sheridan's, basically his Yellowstone shows, right?
Yeah. Like,
not Tulsa King, not Mayor of Kingstown, but Yellowstone.
I loved Yellowstone. So
1883, 1923, and there will be coverage starting soon on the Dutton Ranch.
Yes, I want to see, because Beth is my favorite character, so I did want to watch that. But it was so funny that they were like Taylor Sheridan AI.
Yeah, he doesn't take notes. That was so funny.
Because I think he's the sole writer on all their shows. So
he's the only credited writer.
Writer, yeah. He probably does have a writer's room. That was pretty funny that they took a dig at him.
Well, let's start with examining Homelander. It's like we time jumped a little bit from the last episode. We can assume that the boys did run away, that the transition from most powerful soup on the planet to quote unquote God, maybe that took a few minutes.
Yes.
And was a distraction for him, so he didn't bother catching up with any observers. And now, man, the episode starts with this musical being produced by Oh Father, and you know, you and I did Snowpiercer for 3 seasons, and so we got to see Daveed Diggs never get to sing. Like, be on a show, being a song and dance man, and never sing a note. And so him getting to do this made me smile. I was kind of happy to see it.
I was smiling too, because I think when you know the actor is just probably having so much fun, like, it's so outlandish, and obviously he does have the singing and dance skills, so I was like, yay. It was like, also the whole like chorus and everything, I was like, this, but they're singing just the most ridiculous songs, so it was just so funny. But it was a pretty good song, though, I will say.
It is. I mean, there's the musical, and then there's the video that they show the test audiences that are both kind of, you know, the propaganda of promoting Homelander as God. I mean, it's intentional, obviously, that they're so cheesy, but I guess you're supposed to think that the America of the boys' world is kind of got a different value system than we do. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we also get that scene in the Oval Office. Did you pretty much predict that president was dead meat as quickly as I did? Because it was like instant. As soon as he was in the room, I thought, yeah, he's not leaving.
Yeah, I did think that, because it just felt like Homelander's just basically like, I'm done. Like, you know, like, I'm it. So I don't really need any of you. And so I think I knew instantly when he told Ashley to read his mind, I was like, oh, you're a goner. I didn't know it was going to be like that brutal, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
I thought it would be a lasering like he did Stillwell, but you know.
Yeah, he's just like getting a little bit more brutal. But I did want to take it back a little bit and just say the way it ended last episode, I do feel like, I don't know if it was a little more like Game of Thrones-y's like end of the season where they just felt rushed, because I did want to see him like fully transform. Like, I thought it was going to start there and then kind of like the boys running away. Like, I just feel like they just got away that easily. Like, if he became this superhuman, you know, like how do you feel about that whole thing of like, because it felt like very lackluster, you know, like, because the way it ended was like, oh my God, he's transforming, and then it was just like, he's good to go, and I was like, I don't know, I feel like a little bit
cheated. That's a great point. I don't know that I'm getting entirely Game of Thrones season 8 type vibes. Maybe upon later examination I might, but I can see why you would say that, because part of the beef we've discussed with the later seasons of Game of Thrones was just things that took forever. You used to take forever. Now you can go from one episode to the next and they've done it. Whatever it was, whether it's travel or making stuff or building an army or whatever, it was pretty instantaneous. And that was a problem for feeling like they were staying consistent with the way that the show worked. And here, I mean, this episode didn't leave me wanting in terms of shit happening. Shit definitely did happen in this episode. But yeah, I can agree with you. Like getting to the point of Homelander doing his farewell tour to everybody he doesn't need anymore.
Yeah.
I am holding on to some kind of hope that the V1 didn't work the way everyone thought it was gonna.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, are we just? I just feel like after this talk of V1, and then I mean, don't get me wrong, I love all the episode and like happy to discuss this one, but I feel like it was actually a really good second to last series episode. But I wonder maybe it is going to be something like the consequences of the V1, because I feel like they built it up so much and then it's just like, yeah, he just took it and he's good. Like, you know what I mean? Which was not guaranteed, right? Because like
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like V squared now. He has like, you know, the less potent version and then now the V1 on top of that. So I was just like, he's good? Like
Yeah.
But maybe I'll just like, maybe that's something for the finale. Maybe we'll see maybe the consequences of it.
I hope so, because the finale needs to be a lot of things to the viewers. Like, I don't think that you're going to get your flashback episode, which stinks.
Yeah.
But you did mention that Ryan's got to reappear.
Oh yeah, totally forgot about Ryan. Yeah, he didn't come out in this episode.
No,
so
yeah.
He needs to come back, definitely.
Although in a sense, he has kind of already done his farewell with Ryan. You know, when he was saying that he was good. He needed Ryan when he needed a legacy, but now that but when he becomes immortal, he's not going to need a legacy anymore. So you're off the hook. You don't need to be as perfect as I am.
Yeah, that's true. And I wonder, because Ryan knows after that whole fight that they had that he can't take on Homelander until I guess maybe he grows up and he gets, I don't know if this world of soups is like if you grow up you get more powerful or you learn how to use your powers more.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
the more you use them, the stronger you get.
So I think like he knows at least for another like maybe 5-10 years he's not going to be good. Like
he's half human, so
yeah,
that's not great for him being able to go toe to toe with Dad.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean it could be possible where we don't see him again. I mean there's not really a reason. Unless Ryan's like, I want to, try to take him out, but he already tried that and it didn't work. So,
assuming that the plan is to end the show trying to kill the guy, maybe they've got to throw the kitchen sink at him. Yeah. Ryan, the virus, the nuclear fallout, just or Kimiko maybe has a new power. Who knows?
Yeah.
Throw all of it at him and see what works.
Maybe I need to watch the episode again or like kind of watch the season again at some point, like to see how it flows, because we've been doing the week break. So sometimes, it's different when you kind of like see them like consistently to see how they actually flow, because I also felt like she did a little bit where like Butcher's just like moved on and like his tone is different and he's like, I was like, this doesn't feel like it matches. And so I'm like, am I watching a different character? Like it felt a little weird in that sense, because he's like, okay, well, plan B. And I was like, wait, but you were so gung-ho about plan A. So it felt weird in that sense. Or I also was trying to justify his behavior to be like, thinking maybe he's just like, well, we're fucked anyway, so let's just try this and I'm going to be happy about it kind of thing. Like where you're so deluded because you're probably going to die that he was like, whatever.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I felt like also that the hard-ass, do as I say, fuck you kind of Billy that we've had for this whole season and probably since he got his powers, and even before that when he had the temp V, he's been really hard to deal with, And in this one, all of a sudden, he's the hopeful one. And Huey is sort of the nihilist, even though he doesn't quite have the same attitude that Billy ever did. He's just more like in a what's the point space than we're used to seeing him. And Billy's having to encourage him to find some reason to keep going. So yeah, that felt kind of weird. I mean, the Huey part of this whole season has been hope, and maybe even too hopeful. I mean, he was in a internment camp, and
what better way to find your hope than an internment camp?
right where you lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm just gonna stare at this wall. But yeah, well, but like Huey's journey feels, because he's always been that kind of person, you know, and the reaction to last episode feels real, you know. He's like, well, what's the point? You know, like he was really trying to hang on to like the sliver of hope, and then he's like, well, that's that. So I don't blame him for his character reaction feels real. But Billy's just feels so completely like a 180. And then, but I did like when he was like, just got to find another hole to fuck. Like, which is like plan B. And I was just like he had a lot of good liners, and like his pep talks were really good in this one. But it did feel a little bit like from grumpy Billy, which what we've had, to like, it wasn't gradual. Like it just feels a little too, I don't know. It's a little bit of a rough landing that they're coming to, I think. Like,
yeah,
a
like
little sloppy.
It probably wasn't the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the previous episode.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe he had time to be like, okay, let's just do this.
Maybe that's it, because Homelander needed whatever recovery time he needed, and might be 0 time, might be however many days, and then he starts to enact his feelings on his former support system.
Maybe that's why I'm thinking about it being like really soon after, and maybe it makes more sense that it's maybe like a couple days or a week at least.
Yeah.
And then so that would make more sense where Billy's like, okay, because his ultimate goal though, which has always been the same, was to get rid of Homelander. So I do feel like whatever he needs to do to get in that mode to focus on that goal, that makes more sense of why he's acting this way. He needs to like rally the troops and be like, hey, we still got to do this, even because that's his ultimate goal, is to kill Homelander anyway. So I know he definitely won't give up on that. So maybe that makes sense. We talked it through. But it was a little clunky though, right? For the viewer, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. They have been laying clues throughout the season and throughout the seasons. Like, just sort of randomly, I went back to an old episode in season 3 and watched some of it. And they've been having this conversation about Homelander believing that he is God since back then. He didn't quite have it quite as ingrained and thorough as he does now. He was just more like a god amongst you mortals was his idea back then, but still they were laying it in there. And just like in this season, they mentioned all these parts of stuff that they mentioned that they were working on an experiment with Frenchie, Billy did. And that happened, I think, the previous episode. It might have been good to get some idea about this twist with Kimiko before now.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, with 2 episodes to go, this is one of those 2, and we're trying to jimmy up this this brand new power.
Yeah, that's why, like, I was confused a little bit. Like, I felt like I missed out. And we've been watching it week to week. It's not like I'm waiting so long to watch in between. So I was like, what is going on?
Especially if that power turns out to be the thing, you know?
Yeah, that would be very, like, okay, come on.
That would be really disappointing.
Yes.
Yeah, like maybe if it's the kitchen sink, it contributes, but
it can't be the thing.
No.
That would be very bad.
Yeah. That'd be like Daenerys finding her dragons in the second to last episode.
Yeah. I'm very like, because I can forgive a lot in TV, you know, especially in a 5th season. Like, I'm very forgiving because, you know, to make it to this point, it's hard, and especially like in nowadays, you know, where they have less episodes to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect it to be, you know, like top tier. Well, sometimes people can land at top tier, but like I will give a little bit of leeway, you know, even like the stuff we just talked about with like the Homelander. I was like, okay, but you can't just introduce the thing that's going to kill the main character second to last episode. So I don't think they're going to do that, but I think we're going to talk about maybe what our predictions are for the finale later, but I don't think it'll be that, at least. I think hopefully it just contributes a little bit.
The finale, still an episode away, but in this episode we had so much of this talk about faith, who's faithful. Another building block that they had added in earlier in the season was the psychics, the wall of psychics. Now we know what the psychics are there for. They're for sort of like a 1984-esque mind reading, making sure everyone's compliant, true believers, and then kill the rest.
Yeah, it was interesting to see because Father had been kind of talking to Firecracker, or like they were competing a bit of like who had Homelander's loyalty, and obviously Firecracker didn't make it. But then in this one, you see like even he's breaking a little bit because he really wants to be like, I'll convert the people who are not, and then Homelander's like, no, just kill him or whatever. So it's like if he has no purpose to like convert, he probably was thinking like, there's no reason for me to be, like I think he's thinking I'm gonna be Firecracker.
And why he'd be so anxious about getting the performance just exactly perfect. Then the complaint that he had, I can't remember what it was, with someone's performance, and the reason that they would redo it was not noticeable. You know?
No, he feels the pressure.
He feels the pressure. Yeah, you could see, and the camera got really close up to him in the screening room when he was having the conversation on the phone about how many true believers versus not there were. And you could see a lot of conflict on his face.
Yeah. He feels scared.
It's interesting, though, that in this discussion of faith, there's one guy that says, no, I don't believe. And that's his dad.
Oof, wrong move. You could tell, like, maybe he's not the brightest bulb, because I keep thinking that I think it's because Jensen, the actor, just exudes like from his previous roles that he's like hero and whatever. So sometimes it is hard for me to realize that he is Soldier Boy, who's like, he doesn't care and, like all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, did you really think like you're just going to walk away? And, he was telling Homelander he was leaving to Bogota and just going to go and, do hookers and blow. And like for the rest of his life, he's like, have fun. And then Homelander's like, what? Like, why wouldn't he just lie? Like, like, hey, I'll be back, son. Like,
yeah.
So it just makes me realize, like, oh, he is a little bit of a dummy in some ways. Or just so arrogant. Is it more arrogance, maybe?
That might be. I mean, his existence has been sort of weird, right? He had the run of actually being Soldier Boy at some point in his life, and then he was in a coma for a long time. And then when he woke up, he was confused and destructive, and then put back in a coma after that. And now he was awake again and forced to do this "your son is God" business, and now he's back in a coma again.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, really. But it also makes me I have a prediction with that, but I'll wait till we're a little bit closer to that.
All right, we'll make a note of it. We don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Again, when it comes to soup on soup violence, I guess it would take Homelander to make the sleeper hold work.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was like,
because kind of like with Deep killing Noir, that whole exchange felt kind of underwhelming for a soup battle, and so did this one. Like, I guess because they're both soups, it kind of cancels out the advantages, maybe. So it just looks like two regular guys having a fight.
Because they're at the same level, so it would make sense for that to happen. But I guess we've established that Soldier Boy can't control his power, right? Like the exuding atom bomb.
I thought he couldn't. I think there's maybe two elements of that, right? There's the one that he used with Bomb Sight that he did seem to be able to control. But then there's the one that goes off like an explosion that happened at the beginning of his first season, and then kind of at the end of that first season, right? Where Maeve got depowered. So I think there's both. I think he can control the beam if he's really super focused, or if he loses control of his emotions, then it just happens.
Okay, yeah. So, because he's absorbing people's powers, right?
Maybe. He doesn't seem to manifest them, but...
No, yeah, okay. He's like taking them away, kind of.
Maybe.
As well.
That's an interesting point. Maybe he does absorb, like... I mean, he is very strong. Maybe it tops up his battery or resets his high point on his power meter the more he takes in.
But I will say, I mean, Homelander, and if he wakes up out of the coma, he will probably say, like, some very Soldier Boy-esque line that I'm not witty enough to come up with, or I don't want to say it because it'd probably be cancelish. But it does seem like it was a cheap shot. So I don't know. I can see why he maybe wouldn't be able to get it out because, of course, Homelander is very powerful. So, and he didn't see it coming. But that's my issue, though, is like, why wouldn't he see it coming? Like, are you just dummy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I guess, we'll see how that goes in the finale. I don't think it can't be the way he ends.
I saw something on Instagram where Kripke said that was a wrap on
Oh, really?
Jensen in this series. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he's not part of the kitchen sink.
Maybe not. Because I was, then my prediction goes out the window, but I'll still predict it.
Yeah, well, it's showrunners do mislead us from time to time.
He could have posted the series wrap video, but it could have been from after the season 10 or season 8 or episode 8, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, because they've had that for a long time. Okay, some other stuff, some really neat stuff happened in this episode. It was a little longer than usual. This was a little bit over an hour, and it seemed to have just a lot of stuff in it. I guess if you're going to accelerate the pacing and the timeline like we've discussed, that doesn't mean that you skip everything.
Yes.
And they did reserve this episode for some really great character work and writing and one-liners and like the whole Billy Joel thing.
Oh man, so good.
And stitching the Billy Joel song titles into the dialogue to be kind of like a pun, but only Billy Joel fans would have gotten it. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought that was super funny.
It felt nice to go back to a little bit of the original, like maybe bookend the Billy and Huey relationship.
Well, yeah, there was a point early, very early, where it seemed like Billy was potentially like a hard-assed, no-nonsense older brother figure to Huey's wide-eyed, naive younger brother. I mean, that's gone away. But the way that they interacted in this episode reminded me of, like you said, long ago.
I think everyone is sort of on the... Like, they all think they're going to die. So I think also there's a bit of freedom with that. So it's like, especially with Huey, who's, he is down in the dumps because he's like, how are we going to win? But he still is Huey. And then also in that room, they were like, the psychic got, which I don't know, I guess the psychic can turn, it was like a morph.
Synapse?
Yeah, synapse. He morphed into, which was nice to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes back and then he kind of tells the story of, because he basically get into Billy's head, pulls out this story, or not story, memory of what happened and why he manifests. And so it was basically Billy putting the team in harm's way when he was told, hey, you got to pull him out and like let him die. And then when Huey's like, was that true? Like he even still was thinking like it wasn't true. Like it was so like still hopeful and like Billy's not a horrible person. But I don't think it was more that. I think he was just like, oh, you've been dealing with this stuff. And so they really had like a deep moment, like no pun intended, but a deep moment there. And it felt nice because it is, I mean, I just dealt with like an Outlander series finale, so I feel like it's like all of the characters are kind of wrapping up in some ways, so it's a little ominous, like when they start having these moments. I don't know, it just felt like it was a second to last episode moment between Huey and Billy, and it was nice.
Several characters had these kind of moments, like we finally learned about Mother's Milk and the origin of the name and kind of what it means to him now. And if
he got his sanitizer back.
Yeah. If he lives through this, I hope he can find a way out of his hole, because he's gone through so much. I don't want to think that he's permanently this hard man that he had to become in this season.
No, I think this episode showed that he is coming out of his... I feel like it was obviously in this world, like his depression, because he talks about why he kind of went down in the dumps and why we obviously saw him picking up his 5-second rule, like going against his germ, because he was just like didn't care anymore. And he interacted with the other characters, the crossover characters from
the Gen V characters.
Yeah, where she's like, you're done, you're good, just go hide, because Annie's been she hasn't really turned the tide on that. She's been kind of given up this whole season. Yeah. But I think Mother's Milk really saw that and was like, oh, and then I think that's why he kind of he opened up about the origin of his name to her, which it's funny because that happened with Billy and like Huey and like all of them, like they each kind of they really love each other, even though sometimes like they don't want to show it, but they do, the whole team dynamic. So sometimes I think they see it like when they see each other give up. Like, it's one thing if they like individually give up, but I think we've had moments in this season where they see other people and they're like, oh no, it's that bad. Like, and then they kind of like come back to, it's like they're giving it themselves like each other inspiration, to kind of like come back and be like, no, we got to do this kind of thing. And I think that's what Mother's Milk was doing to start, like trying to do that for Starlight.
And the Gen V characters you brought up a second ago kind of give us a starting point and kind of a midway point on that. Because when the two characters, Moreau and Jordan Li, appear with, it looks like maybe a diary or a log of the comings and goings from Vought Studio to try to keep track of Oh Father, that's when Starlight tells them they can just, piss off.
Yeah.
And, of course, the presence of the vape pen.
Yes, yeah.
Annie at some point had said, since when did hopeful and naive become the same thing? So using her own words against her, trying to say that it's not time to give up hope yet, and I know what's at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, they were sort of like the mirror of like they still believe, I guess, because we haven't really seen the normal world. I don't know what you would call it in this season.
Very, very, very little.
Yes, which I don't mind because sometimes that can be just not necessary, but I think it has hindered it a bit because it's like sometimes it irks me in superhero movies when like people are going through and having these fighting scenes in like buildings, and obviously during those fighting like superhero scenes and they're busting down buildings and stuff, like people are dying and like we never see that human toll, and then it becomes a little like it doesn't really have an impact. So since we haven't really seen like what the conversations are happening besides like maybe the focus group with like the Oh Father and like regular people, I don't know if that's like also lessening the impact of what's happening. I don't know. It was just like when these two characters came where I was like, oh, these are the Starlighters that we've been hearing about, that they're like really trying to help, and other soups, that are kind of in the fight. And it felt nice to kind of see that. So I was like, sort of like, oh, I wish they would have showed a little bit more of like the normal world.
If you don't know, Marie, she has the ability to control blood, sort of like how some soups can control fire or water, or Magneto can control metal, or anything that you can think of like that, she can do with blood. And it doesn't have to be blood that's already coming out of a wound or something convenient like that. She can control it no matter where it is. And when we talk about kitchen sink being thrown at Homelander, that might come in super handy, because maybe that's the only way. Like we saw that he had to laser his own arm open. If they need to deliver something to his bloodstream,
yeah.
He's not going to volunteer to do that. So one way to do that would be have someone open up his veins for him, for everyone else. And then the other soup, Jordan Li, his power was sort of like a changeling, except they only had two forms. One was female and one was male, and each form had different powers. I don't remember what they were, but they weren't the same. So they would flip from one gender to the other instantaneously throughout a fight as necessary, but they were not that powerful. Like, not as weak as Firecracker, but not gonna hold their own with a more developed soup. Okay, I enjoyed a lot of seeing the Vought Studios stuff, the recording of the Western-ish show, or the fact that Oh Father is like operating outside of a soundstage, collecting people to come into his little studio so that they can show the propaganda video. I like all that stuff. And the fact that both teams were there but doing different things, I thought was kind of...
it felt like really cartoon, like not cartoony, but really like kind of like a little Scooby-Doo episode.
A little bit, but in the way that the old episodes used to feel, where they were, they were on an op and they were in the lion's den and needing to exist in a place where they have no advantage whatsoever. And that bit with Billy and Huey with the Billy Joel stuff. I know we've already brought it up, but when Billy said, "Tell me all the Billy Joel songs that are your top 10 favorites," I knew what he was doing because of they had mentioned the psychic was around. I don't imagine a soup named Synapse is doing things besides that. And we'd already heard about the collection of psychics. So I knew that he was like creating kind of mental noise for Synapse. And interesting that it did come back around. It's just sort of the mental noise was Synapse being too loud with his own story. Mm-hmm. The Kessler business is what his undoing was.
I mean, we talked about Mother's Milk and Starlight, like the conversation they had, but also like them being in the vents and like, you know, dealing with, I don't know what the cat and that other guy, it's
She-Line and Dognot.
Yes. That was funny. Like when they were sniffing each other's butts and stuff and being like, "You've had Chipotle." And I was like, I'm very much like a Chipotle fan, so I was like, oh no, I don't. But I was like, I don't want to eat Chipotle anymore. But that felt like a little like what you're talking about. It felt like early seasons, and it felt fun. It's weird because you know it's coming to an end, so it's nice how they were like, let's remind you why you like loved the boys in the first place. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
A little bit like that because there are things that are played for laughs and things through the later episodes or later seasons, but nothing very lighthearted. And this, in a way, had kind of a lighthearted flair to it. Like I didn't seriously think that Synapse was going to be the undoing of Billy and Huey.
Yeah.
And also Mother's Milk and Starlight in the screening room. I didn't think they were going to die there either. It's interesting that they kind of turned the tables on the audience. Remember that they were overheard saying mean things about Starlight on their way in to kind of prove their loyalty, at least verbally, to Homelander. But they probably believed it to a certain extent. So to be saved by Starlight, it's hopefully the beginning of like a little grassroots, like she's not the person that they say she is.
Yeah, well, they got to be careful though and be in a bunker if they're gonna say that or be like, you know, in the voice changer, you know, because they'll Homelander will find them and kill them. So.
Oh yeah, you don't want to tweet about it.
No, no, but that whole thing was really good. It just showed like how far also they come because I feel like if it was the first season, Huey would have been like, oh my god, what do we do? What do we do? And the fact that like it was a little because at some point I was watching, I was like. Are they not like they weren't even worried about it? You know what I mean? They're like, we'll be fine. And then so it was nice to see them like how evolved they were, especially Huey, where he was able to work like they didn't even have to say what they were gonna do. They already knew like, okay, this is how we're gonna get out of it and blah blah. And they like outsmarted Synapse. So that was really cool to see. And
Starlight in another fight scene as the season plays on and the show has played on, Erin Moriarty's appearance has been a discussion on the internet amongst people that accuse her without any information of losing weight or doing different things, maybe plastic surgically. I don't know the extent of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then to come out in this season and tell people actually she was going through a medical situation where by the end of the seasons she could barely walk.
Yeah, I saw that it was she's mentioned like after episode 4 is when it all went to shit. So because I did notice like she hasn't really done too much and like there was an episode where she wasn't really in it, and so it kind of made sense where it was like, oh, I guess, you know, she was probably dealing with we don't know what it is, but it doesn't sound like it wasn't pleasant. So the fact that she's able to do a little bit, especially this episode, and like have a little bit of that fight scene was nice because I did feel like, oh man, she must have had to muster up whatever feeling she had to kind of get through the season based on what she's talked about with her health.
It's a wrong step to accuse people of that they were accusing her of. Like, reminds me of Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, yeah. You don't know what people are going through.
You don't know what people are going through.
Especially, I think I'm really empathetic towards it because also like Daenerys, we talk a lot about Game of Thrones, but Emilia Clarke, like after the first season,
she had like strokes.
Yeah, she had like brain surgery and she was getting through that, and like and she has a foundation now that talks about that because I think it was the end of the first season, in between. she had something and they opened up her, like, you know, like it was like very intense stuff. And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. And so like doing a show is nothing like that. So I haven't even like looked at any of that kind of stuff because I'm like, you know what, I have no idea what's going on, whether she's doing like face stuff or it's her choice, you know, and then also we don't know if it's, and then it was like health based. So, and she doesn't have to tell us what it is, but I'm just like, people need to just stop.
I think so. People might mention the hypocrisy of podcasters talking about that kind of thing, but I think I'm okay about it. I mean, we're talking about the context of the show, the story, the writing, the way the characters are portrayed, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to talk about that though. Like, no,
yeah, I just don't know what to talk because it's not. I don't have the full story, so it's also like we don't know exactly what's going on, so we can't comment on it. Like, and it's their business. So yeah, if her acting sucks, we can talk about it. But but it hasn't. It's more like she hasn't been part of the season, and we know. It's good to know why and not feel like the writers just kind of like took her out for no reason. We know there was probably a reason. She probably bet. I don't know if you've heard anything, but maybe like later on they'll talk about like. I wonder if they also had different things planned for her this season, and then they didn't get to do it because of that.
That might be one of those production secrets they never say, or they don't say for a little while.
Till convention 10 years later.
But yeah. Well, because you might be right, because they've been building up her power level.
And she's a main character.
And she's a main character, but they took her from just kind of having flashing light powers to being able to fly and use flashing whatever, basically like Iron Man uses his gauntlets, same power. That's a big extension of from where she came from. And so I think she was being positioned to be like an answer to Homelander, but maybe other factors required that they pivot so that she wasn't the finale boss for Homelander.
Yeah, and that makes sense because that's happened in other shows before, like for whatever reason, where they had plans and then
look at Doctor Doom coming out later this year, Doomsday. They had several movies building up one baddie for the 10 or 20 movies that came out since Endgame, and because of off-screen reasons, they needed to go a completely other direction.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at it also, I think eventually I want to rewatch The Boy, like all of it again, because I did really enjoy it, and I tend to like go back and you kind of can see like fill it, I think you'll be able to see like, oh, she was kind of doing like this character, so then and then if you know what's sort of happening offline, it will make sense because it does feel really weird for them just to kind of be like, okay, you're on the back seat now. Yeah So I think they had to pivot. I think we'll find out in a couple of years whenever they're able to talk, and when she probably wants to talk about it too. But yeah,
right,
that's but I hope she gets her like Starlight gets her time in the finale and whatever she was able to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's been there. She has done her part.
Which comes to, I don't know when we're going to talk about the end, but I guess it's kind of like a fitting time because
as we say in Texas, Kat, we're fixing to. The end. Back at the Erie, Pennsylvania abandoned elementary school / boys hideout. I gotta admit, I was really surprised. We mentioned it a minute ago, sort of this Deus Ex Machina ending of hopefully this is not the case, but creating a way to get out of trouble at the last second like this. By that, I mean creating within Kimiko the same power that Soldier Boy has to depower other soups. To me, it feels like beyond a Hail Mary. It's like you're throwing a Hail Mary in a stadium past the stadium you're playing in. It's like too much to hope that this would work.
But again, we just talked about this pivot and what if they had to pivot and make the storyline. I would hope so, because it is a little bit too out there.
I mean, it feels that way.
Because how do we, like, has Kimiko ever, like she doesn't have an ability to like take on new power. Like she heals, right? So
right.
Why would they think like all of a sudden they can like freaking change it like a molecular structure or something like that?
Yeah, right. If she and Soldier Boy had basically the same power set minus the beam, then that might be like, yeah, okay. But we have no proof that Soldier Boy can be cut in half and recover. I get more of the sense like he's actually just physically very tough.
Yes, yeah. Like she has no, like, I would think more like it probably, I know we've talked about Starlight, but she has like the beaming power. So like if you're going to try it on anyone, it should be her, but she wouldn't be able to like survive those tests. But I just feel like that was a little bit weird. And also, I would assume that science is not so easy. So it's like to do this in like a week or so, even with the smartest person who's not really helping. So it's been all Frenchy. Like, I don't know. It's a little...
Who was basically cosplaying as a chemist a minute ago.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, is Frenchie that smart? Like, I don't know. He's been doing a lot of science in this season, and I'm like letting it go a little bit, but I'm like, okay, it's a lot. But he said I guess we're leading up to what happens at the end, but
yeah,
I honestly, it caught me by surprise that he was the one to go. I knew it when he did the little tap thing that, oh, you're probably gonna go.
Yeah.
When Homelander gets there and is looking, and also I didn't know, and maybe they mentioned it because it's been long time between seasons about the zinc thing, that Homelander can't see through zinc, but I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Okay, so I was like, what?
Well, Superman can't see through lead, so...
Okay, yeah, so maybe that's sort of the same thing.
Sort of the same thing.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, and I guess I just expected everyone to survive until at least the last episode, and then they would... But this was very, I mean, I know we keep doing the comparison, but it was very Game of Thrones, and I actually enjoyed that they killed someone off. I was more affected by it than I thought. Like, I was crying, and I was like, oh, this is so sad.
It was very sad.
Yeah, but I do think, because that ups the stakes, because I do feel like, I was like, oh, is everyone just going to survive? And I know a lot of characters die in The Boys, but it's been like the lesser characters, like the ones that haven't been part of the original crew. So I do feel like it was nice, like story-wise, that one of the main, especially for Kimiko, it sucks because he had just said, and I think it was a telltale sign when he was like, oh, I think I will have kids now.
And a puppy.
And a puppy, yes! I was like, I bet she's going to adopt the puppy, though. That's a prediction.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. But yeah, that is a telltale sign of a character that's about to check out from a TV series.
But I thought it would be in the finale, not in this episode, so that was the surprise.
Well, let's see. In the first episode, we lost A-Train.
But he had kind of been biding his time for a long time.
That's right, yeah. And we've lost Firecracker, we've lost Noir.
But no one that was really part of The Boys, really, right? Besides, like, the mom of Ryan and stuff, but, like, have any of the boys?
No.
Yeah, so I think that's why I was surprised. And I'm just glad they did it, because it did kind of, like, I love that credibility from the writers, because sometimes when they just... It's The Boys, it should be like that. And like the fact that none of them had died is a little like, it would have been a little iffy. If
you listen to our older podcasts, you'll find us wondering when
who was going to die.
Yeah, because it would have made the stakes
so much higher.
Yeah.
I think that's why maybe I had already, since we had talked about it and like none of them had died, I was like, they're not going to kill him off. Like I assumed all of them would survive. That's why I think it caught me off guard.
It was a big moment, the tapping, and Homelander's like right there, and he basically performs the equivalent of like a gunfighter shooting someone in the stomach. Mm-hmm. It's a long, painful way to die.
The stomach shot is like the worst thing.
Right.
I just know this because of movies and TV, not real life, guys.
Right, all the killings.
Yeah. I was like, I said that very.
You put that behind you.
Yeah. I was like, I just. Apparently, that's the worst way to die. I've heard.
As she's heard from her victims. Right?
Yeah, but that was so brutal. But it was also so like, what an epic way for him to go. Because another thing that I also loathe is when characters die in the stupidest ways or like don't get the death they deserve, and I feel like that was very fitting. Like he saved Kimiko. I think it was a good death for him.
And Sage, who has been sort of detached from everything, kind of living in this fantasy of being able to just read books forever, finally she came face to face with her own mortality, landing with his red boots right next to her, pretty much as close as you'd ever want to be to Homelander. And then the sacrifice that he made. I mean, maybe, I know Sage doesn't have any real offensive capability as far as beating Homelander, but she has been successfully manipulating him for a season, right? Mm-hmm. So she does stand to be able to give some kind of good advice on the way he thinks or what he might do next, given these inputs. You know, there's the variable of the V1, obviously, the omnipotence, the immortality that we are supposing exists. But still at his core, he still came from the same point that she knew him at, that created the person that she knew and was able to manipulate. So I think she's still valuable and maybe now more motivated to help these people than she was when she was just complaining about gorditas versus chalupas or whatever the thing was she threw against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I really do hope she comes through with something because, I mean, I will say she's probably my least favorite character or one of the least favorite. At least, like the Deep too is like doesn't have a reason, but he's funny, you know. Like,
yeah.
But she's been kind of annoying because I'm like, what is it? And then when her reason of why she wanted to destroy humanity was a little lackluster for me. So I was like, I was hoping that maybe Homelander did kind of just like, you know, kill her. And the fact that we should have known too, because Frenchie really did have a really nice send off in all ways, because he was talking about love and he gave her the speech of like, you know, this is love and you don't believe in love and blah, blah, and all this stuff. And so I was like, oh, the writing was on the wall. But, I would hope she wouldn't let that go in vain and does sort of come up with a way to con him maybe. But again, they need to they need not just to manipulate him and get him, because they need to know like what can actually kill him. And that still is not clear from this episode.
Nope. It seems like the nuclear stuff weakens him, but it seems like with the second dose of it that he just had.
Yeah, the uranium was like nothing.
Yeah, he shrugged it off and was able to get out of the room. Now, the room wasn't as soup-proof as the one Fort Harmony. And I don't think that the nuclear or the uranium is necessarily something that you would just toss out. I think it's maybe part of the kitchen sink. Yeah. And as Frenchie proved, they are at the point of self-sacrifice now if it means that they think it'll work.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I knew he was going to do it, because I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, he's willing to sacrifice himself for Homelander not finding Kimiko. But
maybe the recovery from the exposure to the uranium distracted him enough so that he was like, fuck it, I'm not looking for them. I gotta go. Yeah.
But that was what was sad about it. If he had just like hidden, it would have been fine. But yeah, he was like definitely looking at that spot that looked a little sus, you know, for a hiding spot.
Well, in a way, maybe Sage could look at it like she took Frenchie's spot. That was a 2-person spot. She was the third person. So
that's true. Yeah. But yeah, it will be a little weird to see. Maybe Kimiko's, if she does get the power, it will just be to kind of open it up for something, which I think now knowing, because I didn't watch Gen B, but you telling me about Marie, that sounds very plausible. You know, like if she's able to kind of help open up a thing and like a
right, irradiate some of the blood.
Yes, because that would be crazy. That would be very brutal.
Yeah. Well, we did get a lighthearted moment in this episode. There's not really a lot of discussion point to it, except for that it's always notable and usually funny or something memorable when an actor from a competing superhero franchise drops in on the boys. And in this case, I'm talking about the Hammerhead Shark, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, trying to entice Kevin into the water, probably with the intent of there's a gang of fish down there.
Which he had predicted, right? Like he would be
banished.
Yes.
And
that the 7 would be demolished, so, or like, you know, disbanded, which we also had, I think we had talked about whether that was going to happen, because yeah. But that was really funny. I really enjoyed that whole interaction. Then when he I almost thought he was going to jump in to save the dude, but then when he didn't, he was like, nah.
You know, we had talked for seasons about, is he redeemable? And there he had one final moment to prove us wrong, and he just didn't. And yeah, maybe the rest of his pathetic life will be spent on land where he feels less comfortable than in the water. And his powers are basically useless because, and yes, he still has some strength and durability and stuff, but his bulk of his powers require water and sea life to work.
And also friends, like, he would...
He needs a bro.
Yeah, and he would talk to the fish and stuff. And now that they've turned on him, like, I don't know. Do you think that's punishment enough, though? Or do you think he will come back in the finale and, like, I still want Starlight to kind of finish him in a way, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, it almost feels like too much from one episode to go. Mm-hmm. The way that they've strung him along this whole time, though, it does seem like they need a final, this is what happened to the deep kind of moment, not just like he chickened out from his
Although that is very fitting, though.
Yeah.
Very cowardice. But it does kind of like, it was basically the last Lego to like tip off of, it's just now Homelander versus the boys for the finale.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving forward, looking at next week, the boys are down a man, and in a way, Frenchie, when he took control of the team at Fort Harmony, he was showing that he was becoming a better man, a reluctant leader. He had shared with Kimiko his desire to actually start a family with her. These are all like big, giant strides for a man and a character. And with the hardening of Milk and Huey's loss of hope and Starlight's kind of jaded nature, and of course Billy was never the heart of the team, Frenchie had kind of become the heart of the team.
Yeah. I think that's why it hit hard, because I think he would keep them in check in that regard, especially this season where he had a really good arc throughout this whole series, from where he started and where he, got to, and with Kimiko and everything. So I think that's going to hit him. That's going to hit the team really hard. And then hopefully that gives all of them the motivation, to kind of go into, I guess, standoff with Homelander. Do you think Stan Edgar will come back?
I kind of do. I was thinking about that earlier today. He might be part of Homelander's I Don't Need You Anymore tour around the people that had been in the story up to now. However, Stan is quite a bit smarter than the Deep and less toadying than President Calhoun was. Mm-hmm. So he might successfully argue in favor of his continued existence.
Yes.
By Homelander isn't psychic. He has psychics that work for him, but still, I think there's a lot that Stan knows that Homelander wants to know and take advantage of. So, yes, I think he comes back. Yes, I think he survives.
Oof, yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're gonna have to fit a lot. I don't know. I haven't looked at any of the running time of the finale. Do you know if it's like a 2-hour thing, or is it just a normal?
I don't know. I haven't seen.
And it says the last episode is Blood and Bone, and it says 1 hour and 5 minutes. So
about the same as this one.
Yeah, Blood and Bone. So I think
Blood, Marie.
Blood, yes. Yeah. Bone.
I don't know about bone.
Snapping bone. Who can snap bone?
Yeah.
Okay, but would that also be a little? I know Gen V was a spinoff of The Boys, so technically not coming in last episode. But would you feel a little cheated if that was like
a little? Yeah. It'd be like if you're watching Deep Space Nine, and in the next to last episode, the Enterprise shows up and saves their ass. Like, what?
Yeah. Like the Eagles that saved,
a little
Frodo. Yeah, you're like, what?
Pretty much similar, very, very similar, because they never really put out there to the fan base like this is required viewing. If you are a Boys fan, you need to watch it. They never did that.
No.
Not to me anyway. So I think it went unnoticed by a pretty good amount of viewers.
Yeah, like I didn't watch. I like planned to do, but then when they canceled it, I was like, well, I'm not going to watch it. And then I knew this was ending, so I was like, I guess it's not really, factor in. And I don't like I feel like a show like you can do stuff in Gen V or a spin-off show that is nice, like, you know, it calls back to the original show, but I don't think it should be something that you need to watch. Like, I have an irk about that, because everything that needs to be in your show needs to be in your show, unless you tell the viewers, like, this is something you need to watch to like fill in, because that's like a cop-out.
Yep.
So, but I don't know, that title episode, Blood and Bone, is giving me, I think maybe everyone's going to have a little small part to play, and maybe it's something like you said, throwing everybody, like the kitchen sink at Homelander, and maybe it's going to be a team effort. I mean, it is the boys, so maybe it's everyone's going to have to like sort of like stone him, you know, in their own way.
Well, yeah, like when everybody took on Stormfront in the season 2 finale, you know, it was like a little bit of Maeve, a little bit of Starlight, a little bit of Kimiko. It took everybody to work on her because she was very powerful. So maybe that kind of thing. I don't know how they would create the setup where he would be attackable by so many things all at once, but that's where maybe the sage of it all comes in.
I do think that they're setting up where he is getting a little too, I mean, he's already been arrogant, but I do think that could be his weakness, you know, where if there's a vulnerable spot, it's going to be where he is literally on top of the world, and going to be, you know, the new lord, but maybe that's where they can kind of see an opening, you know, or if someone distracts him and starts, or the crowds don't fully embrace him and he starts like getting crazy, you know, I feel like that's when they can kind of attack. But again, what is that attack going to look like? So we'll see. I don't know. I really don't know how they're going to end the show. Me neither.
I wonder if maybe a moment of like public embarrassment turns the people against Homelander. But I don't know what that would do exactly. That would give us like that same thrill that I'm kind of anticipating with whatever happens in the finale. But I could see where it would be a factor in corralling him, you know, like if he doesn't want to be where the people are booing him, then go get him wherever he takes refuge in or something.
Yeah, and then you sent me this thing too, which I don't know if it will factor in at all, but the Boys Mexico show that's in development that will take place after the events of this finale. We don't know how long after, but if Homelander is God, like, and he doesn't necessarily have to be in that show, which I don't think the actor, you know, I don't know if he would be in it, but sort of we would have to know what happened, you know, like it would have to sort of like what world is it left in. So I'm curious about that. Hasn't been greenlit officially. I think they've just like are in talks, it seems like, but but I'm curious if that's going to factor in at all of like, because we haven't seen any international like soups and things that have come really, so that'll be cool. It says it's going to be set in Mexico and then like in Spanish, so that'd be a completely different show.
Very different show. I just heard about that this week, so, and I don't know anything about it. There is an entry on IMDb for it. It looks like it exists or will exist. It's got a different creator, not Eric Kripke, but someone named Gareth Dunnett Alcocer, maybe. It kind of looks like a British last name with the hyphenation.
Alcocer, maybe. I think maybe it's Spanish. Yeah.
Okay.
He was the director of Blue Beetle, I think. Or no, the writer of Blue Beetle.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think obviously it's like Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal are attached as it says executive producers.
Okay.
So I think they're probably trying to keep it within maybe a Mexican production. But the only thing it says, and who knows if this is true, is that it's slated to take place after the events of the Boys flagship series. So I don't think necessarily this will factor in. I think this finale will still be a standalone, but who knows?
Who knows? Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to this final episode. Put in 5 seasons worth of watching into 8 years of time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, have we been doing this for 8 years?
I think it's 7.
7, okay.
I think it's 7, yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. It was actually kind of cool. It made me feel like, I've known you a little bit longer than that, but I was like, wow, 7 years you've been doing this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was much younger when I met you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously you were too. Time works the same for both of us.
Yeah. No, I was like a little sad. I was like, oh no, because I'm not really podcasting that much anymore. This is like the last one, but I was even thinking, I was like, no, I don't want it to be like the final one. So maybe I have to do some other shows.
We'll have to find something.
Yeah, the Boys spinoff, Mexico.
Yeah, or Vought Rising.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're good. So I won't be sad then for the series finale episode.
Me neither. I would miss our little chats. But that should do it for this week's episode. If you liked this podcast, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to it on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube even. If you leave a rating or a review or a comment or something, that'll help other people find it, because that's how algorithms work. Thanks a lot.
On Clubhouse.